You have already been forgiven because there is nothing that even needs to be forgiven. And this goes for every other human on this planet. And now I would love to express this in a very grounded way because I understand this is a concept that ruffles a lot of feathers, that aggravates a lot of egos. And of course, rightfully so, that makes a lot of sense that this would be a concept that upsets us because there are so many people who have seemingly hurt us and betrayed us and are doing evil things in this world. And there is just so much evil in this world. If you look for it, you'll find it because this world was not created by God. This world was created by our collective egoic construct. This world was something we dreamed up, that we are dreaming up currently. While, if you can imagine us in heaven, laying next to God, or in our bedroom in heaven, sleeping, like in the story of Adam and Eve. Adam went into a deep slumber and never woke up. That's us right now. We are in a deep slumber in heaven next to God. And, if you could see God looking at us while we're screaming in our sleep, having this perceived nightmare, he's like, oh my God, hello? And he's like gently rocking us, trying to wake us up, like, hello, are you having a nightmare? Oh my gosh, are you okay? But he doesn't actually know what we're dreaming about, just as much as if you have a kid and they're having a nightmare, you don't know what the nightmare is about. You can just see that they're disturbed. That is God. He is in heaven, holding the presence of oneness and unity and love. He has nothing to do with this world. This is our dream. We are collectively creating this world through our perceived belief systems and what we choose to focus on. So I'm not saying that the people who have done you wrong didn't actually do you wrong. Yeah, in this nightmare that you are perceiving, the person who wronged you, yeah, they wronged you. They shouldn't treat you like that. There should be some form of reconciliation that takes place here. And maybe you're not ready to forgive them. That's okay. You don't have to be ready to forgive them. All I'm saying is everything that's going on has nothing to do with God. Whether it's a good dream, a happy dream, or a nightmare, it's still just a dream. This is all something that we're dreaming up. And from this space, you'll begin to notice that it becomes easier to forgive because you're not forgiving that person. You're forgiving the dream for having looked like it hurt you. And the other person is just a figment of your own imagination. Somewhere in your consciousness, there was a belief system of you being unworthy that attracted this person into your life to treat you like you were unworthy. On some level, your higher self asked this person to come into your life to reflect back to your own unworthiness so that you might become aware of this viral infection inside of your consciousness so that you could extract it. So, in a way, the person who wronged you was doing you a favor because they brought to your attention a viral infection within your consciousness that was reflecting back to you your own sense of unworthiness. And so you don't have to bring this person back into your life. You don't have to stay with this person, but you can thank this person for reflecting this back to you so that you may pluck this out and replace it with more God, replace it with more unity, a deeper sense of self-worth. And this is where human boundaries come into play. right? God is not asking you to forgive the world and then let everyone walk all over you because it's not real anyways. God is asking that you become the light amidst the chaos, the still point amidst the chaos, by reflecting the truth out to everyone. And sometimes when we reflect the truth, it's a harsh truth. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's telling somebody, no, that's not okay to treat me that way. It's not okay to talk to me that way. In fact, if you're going to continue, you're no longer allowed in my life. That then reflects back to them their own stuff that they now have to face and look at. Whereas when we continue to keep people in our lives who are hurting us, they think it's okay. They're getting away with it. They think they're gaining something out of it, which inevitably they're not. They're going to face their own karma, if you'd like to call it that. So by reflecting back to them your sense of self-worth through boundaries, you're forcing them to face themselves in a way. You know, they do have free will to now just go out and find someone else who has low self-worth and use them, but that's not your problem anymore. Not to say you don't care about the other person who has low self-worth. Perhaps now that you've found your self-worth, you speak up about self-worth. You empower people who once had the same viral infection in their consciousness that you once had. And so now it's your mission, it's your passion to help others become empowered as well. And as this spreads, all of the people who are feeding off of the viral infection of low self-worth have no one to feed on. You see what I'm saying? So now you have a world full of empowered people who have found their self-worth, and the people who were feeding off of that now have nothing to feed on, so they're left with nothing but themselves. They must now face themselves, right? And it is in this facing of ourselves, in this looking into the mirror of unconditional love, because that's all we're ever being faced with, is our own sovereignty, our own divinity, our own unconditional love. And sometimes it hurts to look at because we must face all of the ways in which we have not been acting from this place. But that's what I'm saying. You have already been forgiven for seemingly acting out of hurt, acting out of low self-worth, acting out of no self-respect, acting out of greed, acting out of selfishness. You've already been forgiven because it's a nightmare. It's not real. And the more that we begin to wake up from this dream state, this nightmare, and reinstate our divinity through our conscious awareness, and reflect that out to everyone, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you lose people in your life because they no longer want to be around you. It's too hard to look into the light because then they must face they must now face the viral infections within their own consciousness, which can be painful. So it's none of your business if they choose to face themselves or not. It's your business how you carry yourself. It's your business how you hold yourself, the principles that you walk through life carrying, such as peace. I choose peace. I only want in my reality that which brings me peace. If you do not bring me peace, you are not allowed in my reality. Not in a way that I won't reflect back to your own power, but you can't be my friend if you're not bringing me peace. It's just as simple as that. But so yeah, we've already been forgiven because none of this is real. But it's not real from a place of from like an ungrounded place where we don't embody this knowing, and we just let people walk all over us, and we let the evil run rampant because it's not real anyway. So who cares if there's evil in the world? No. We understand it's not real from a place of not allowing the evil to persist, saying no to the evil because it's not real, so it's not allowed in our collective dream any longer. And those who wish to play in evil now have nothing to play with but themselves. So that's going to be uncomfortable for a while until they choose to wake up to their own divinity as well. That's all we're doing here is helping each other wake up. And sometimes it's not comfortable. Sometimes it's not easy to face. And so have grace and compassion for yourself and others as we all collectively go through this process, because it is crunchy. It can look ugly sometimes. It can look destructive. It can just look not fun, you know? But ultimately, we're playing out something that has already occurred. We are just simply playing a role in a movie. Because in that holy instant, everything simultaneously did and was undid. There was sin and then there was atonement, which sin is just a misstep. There's nothing to condemn yourself for. And when you condemn others for a perceived sin, you're really just condemning yourself. You're really just hurting yourself, because we are all one. We are all one collective consciousness. And when you condemn your brother or your sister, you condemn yourself. So this is not about condemnation. Our rightful place is on the throne of our own divinity and I am presence, all of us. Some of us are just remembering, and some of us are choosing to stay in the nightmare a little bit longer, but that doesn't mean that their rightful place is not on their own I am presence, the throne of their I am presence. It just means that they're choosing to forget for a little while longer for some reason, which they're allowed to do, because it all happened in a holy instant. They are seemingly lost, but they are also found simultaneously. They are, whoever you are choosing to condemn, is in heaven right now with God. And God loves them unconditionally. God loves them to the same level that God loves you. There's no hierarchy in heaven. There is no hierarchy of who deserves more of God's love than the other. Everyone deserves God's love equally. It's just how it's being reflected into you in the present moment in this nightmare is how much they've accepted that. People who have accepted that God loves them unconditionally probably in most cases reflect outwards that light, that divinity. They shine. Those who have not accepted that God loves them unconditionally are still lost in their own darkness and chaos. But it's inevitable that they will find their truth. It is inevitable that every single person on this entire planet will find the light of God, will find the source of their own divinity. It just hasn't happened in this exact now moment. And when we choose to condemn others to a perceived hell, we are condemning ourselves, because we cannot collectively go home as the one Son of God, as the sonship. We cannot return home to God until everyone has returned home to God. And so when you condemn another, you condemn yourself. When you view the world through a mind of separation, you are separating yourself from heaven. When you choose to see and look through the ego of everyone to that spark of God consciousness that resides in the hearts of every human alive, you are not only solidifying your own divinity, but you're solidifying the divinity of others, which then is in their field that somebody has seen them for their truth of who they are, not for the facade of the ego. And this is what is going to help them awaken, is when we can perceive even the evilest of people as the truth of who they are. It solidifies this remembrance in some shape or form into their aura. It just floats around them. And so then it's more of a chance that they are confronted with their own divinity, which I'm not saying is going to be easy for someone who has done a lot of evil in this world. It's probably going to be very challenging for them to wake up, and that's why they are staying asleep for so long, because it's painful. It's painful to wake up. You know, when I went through my own awakening, it was rough. It was rough to face every single part of myself that ever did something out of the darkness, that ever did something out of jealousy or greed or lack. It was so painful to look at those parts of myself. But you're not being shown those parts of yourself to then condemn them. Like, oh, I'm holy, but that part of myself that acted out of greed, you're bad. I'm condemning you. No, you're still coming from a separate mind. You condemn one aspect of yourself, you condemn the whole of yourself. It's a game of learning how to love even the darkest parts of yourself. It's a game of learning how to look at the parts of yourself that perhaps acted out of jealousy or greed or manipulation or lack or fear, and love them anyways, to pull them into this center of unrelenting compassion, and love those parts of yourself anyways. And it's once you learn how to love these parts of yourself that you're afraid to look at, that you learn how to then love others who have perhaps seemingly also acted out of greed, manipulation, lack, separation. So this is not a game of separating ourselves from evil. This is a game of pulling everything, all of the perceived evil, into the light of God. Because then it dissolves, because it was never real. It was always an illusion. And as long as it can stay in the darkness, as long as it stays in the subconscious mind and we don't look at it, it continues to run our lives from the background. It continues to run rampant as a viral infection in our consciousness. But when we bring that viral infection in our own individual and collective consciousness to the front, into the light of God, it ceases to exist, because an illusion cannot continue to exist in the light, in the truth. The truth of God burns the illusion away, but you must be willing to look at the illusion. You must be willing to bring the illusion to the light, which means unconditional love. You must be willing to unconditionally love the darkness, to unconditionally love the lack, the parts of you that acted out of lack, not because you're condoning the behavior. You're not condoning the behavior by loving the darkness unconditionally. You're simply just holding a space of unrelenting compassion for these aspects, because you know that it is an illusion, and the truth in you has nothing to fear. The truth cannot be destroyed by illusion. It's simply not possible. And so you aren't afraid of looking at it, because it can't destroy you. It cannot destroy the truth of God. And so by choosing to love all of the darkest parts of ourselves and all of the darkest parts of our neighbor and the world unconditionally, while simultaneously not condoning it, learning how to hold that firm boundary, you're not condoning, but you're also not condemning. This is when the world wakes up, because we're no longer feeding the darkness. The darkness has nothing to feed off of, therefore the viral infection ceases to exist, and we all wake up and become one, and we're like, oh shit, that was a weird fucking dream. Hey God. Good morning. What now? What now? What am I gonna do now? Right? And when you begin to wake up to this, when you begin to remember who you are and what's really going on here, you begin to see the light, you begin to see the love, you begin to see that this is all one giant playground to be shaped and molded by your innocence, by your childlike innocence and playful curiosity. And in the space of understanding that everything is here for you to play with, you can relax. No one's coming to condemn you. No one's coming to punish you. No one's coming to lecture you or put you in the corner. You can relax. It's safe to play. You are safe to play. You're safe to create and to mold reality as you wish. And you will be taken care of. Not because you did something grand to deserve it, not because whatever, but simply just because you exist and you're choosing to see your light. You're choosing to feed your light. You're choosing to starve the viral infections of the ego and to see the light of the world. And so because of this, you are being taken care of. And this is being offered to everyone at all times. Every time you are faced with a challenge or a conflict or somebody in your life who is mistreating you, this is a choice point for you to choose the light or to feed the viral infection. And if you continue to play in and feed the viral infection, you are going to get the fruits of that tree. If the tree is corrupt, what is that saying? The fruits are of the corrupt tree are also going to be corrupt. But if the fruits are good, the tree is good. If you feed the light, you'll receive more light. If you feed the corruption through people-pleasing tendencies or whatever it is, you're feeding corruption, and so you're going to receive a reflection of more corruption. You're going to continue to receive the viral infection because that is what you are feeding through your actions. Whereas if you choose to cut the viral infection off through your actions of holding your firm boundaries, you choose to tell people, don't speak to me that way, or whatever it is, you're honest with people from a loving place, you're feeding the light, you're giving into the light, and you'll receive more creative, what's the word I'm looking for? More creative say-so, or whatever. You know, you feed the light, you get more light. You begin to realize that this reality is being molded by your hands, is being molded by your mind. You begin waking up to your creative power and the creative power of all of humanity. And so you want to reflect your unconditional love out, even if it is a firm boundary, because then it forces the other person to confront the viral infection within their own consciousness, hopefully so that they can then extract it, and we have more people that are feeding the light so that we can then collectively begin co-creating with the light. The more people we have co-creating with the light, the brighter the world is going to get. But if you continue to condone the viral infection of others, you're going to see a world built on viral infection. You're going to continue to have the world of this egoic viral infection reflected back to you. It's all a choice of what you choose to condone or condemn in each present moment, because we're not condoning and we're also not condemning. We're holding a... My video stopped recording right there, so I'm going to assume that's where I was meant to stop, but I'll finish that sentence. We're holding a neutral, compassionate space. We're emanating the light of God out to others, and we're always reflecting back divinity. This is our choice to stand in this light. We're choosing to reflect back the divinity of others always. It's just that sometimes the light is so bright it hurts their eyes. And that is just their viral infection being reflected back to them. The viral infection in their consciousness and the viral infection of the consciousness of humanity being reflected back. So when people react to your light, it's because it's hurting their eyes. It's not because you're standing in your light wrong. I mean, of course, learn, when you hurt people's feelings, learn humbly how to say, I'm sorry. And, if necessary, change your ways to being more loving, because that's the journey we're on. We're learning how to be more loving, how to hold more light of God. So if you made it this far and you love content like this, please give me a like, a subscribe, or a comment. This is going to help me push this message out to as many people as possible, which is always greatly appreciated. And I'll talk to you guys later.